Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the November 15th meeting of the Oceanside City Council. I'd like to ask our city clerk to call roll, please.
Mayor Sanchez.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Kime. Councilmember Joyce.
Present.
Councilmember Robinson.
Here.
Councilmember Weiss.
Here.
Thank you very much. Father Charles wasn't able to make it this evening, so we're going to go right into the Pledge of Allegiance. And could you please rise? And Zeb, could you please lead the Pledge of Allegiance?
Hands over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. Thank you. And Oceanside Turkey Trot is in the house. Yeah. So you're up first. Come on down. This is the proclamations and presentations part of our city council meeting. So come on down, everybody. I know there are a few people here. Yeah. And, Kathy, you're looking too relaxed. And you couldn't get anybody to do the turkey suit, huh? You're going to run. Woo. Well, okay. Well, fantastic. Well, 18th annual, right? And I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic over.
So we just wanted to say that as we get ready for Thursday, this is San Diego Running Company's first time doing this turkey trot, but we've really had the opportunity to succeed. We're expecting over 8,000 runners. Switching mic.
8,000.
Okay. Let's give this a shot. A little better? And while we'd like to say it's because of our smart marketing, but really we inherited an amazing event that Kathy and her team, the partners here, had really put together. So while I know we're recognizing the trot, I wanted to hand it back over to the mayor to recognize how we got here.
Yes. And so when is it? It's next.
Thanksgiving.
Yep, next Thursday, right?
Thursday.
Okay. And it's not going to rain, right?
No.
All right. So I do have a proclamation. It's a wonderful proclamation because it says, whereas running and other outdoor sports are part of the fabric of Oceanside, and whereas community gatherings like running events positively impact the mental, physical, and economic well-being of the residents and businesses that call Oceanside home. And whereas Kathy Kinane has been instrumental community member when it comes to creating these running events that give benefit to the community of Oceanside in so many ways. And whereas Kathy's company, Kinane Events, attracted over 1 million participants to Oceanside while they were the stewards of the Oceanside Turkey Trot. And whereas Kathy co-founded the Move Your Feet Before You Eat Foundation, which has granted over $470,000 to local schools and nonprofits locally. And whereas Kathy continues to dedicate her time and energy into creating memorable experiences that draw people from all around the world to Oceanside, and therefore is deeply invested in our city. And whereas Kathy Kinane represents engagement, endurance, and equity, key values that define the city of Oceanside. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Esther C. Sanchez, on behalf of the City of Oceanside, do hereby proclaim today, November 15th, 2023, to be Kathy Kinane Day in the City of Oceanside. So this is actually a proclamation in honor of Kathy Kinane, founder, Oceanside Turkey Trot. So I know you all, it was noticed as a proclamation for Turkey Trot. Surprise.
Wow.
Surprise.
Wow, thank you so much.
And did you want to say a couple of words, Kathy?
Well, one picture here real quick.
One big thing. Oh, yeah. Hey.
Surprise, surprise.
Wow. Thank you so much to everybody for this proclamation.
We want to know if you were surprised.
I was. No, I didn't know. Thank you so much. And I remember the first year.
Recording in
voted
progress.
To support the trot in 2006. And we're so happy that we've been able to be a part of the community and get the community support to have the turkey trot and to see all those smiling faces on Thanksgiving morning. It's been a dream come true. And I just want to thank my board and all the sponsors, Front Wave, West Pacific Marine, and of course these young men that are taking it over and leading it into the next few decades. We're very excited about the future of it. And thank you for this. This is wonderful. Really appreciate it.
Surprise.
Thank you.
Thank you. And, you know, all our hearts go to you and as you become, I guess, what do they call them? Consultants, right? Consultants.
Yes. Well,
Because-
I'm still going to be focusing on the foundation. And I have a little brag point. Right now, North Terrace has 913 students in the Miles of Smiles running program, and it's being managed by Sally Cornier Curl, which I just feel so blessed to have her be a part of our lives right now and what she's doing with the kids at North Terrace. Actually fantastic.
Thank you, Kathy. And let's go ahead and have another picture here. Thank you. And I guess next year we'll see the turkey, right? Somebody else will be doing the turkey. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, next, we have the Mayor's Business Spotlight. We're spotlighting, we're putting this light on Jordan's Upholstery and Manufacturing, celebrating 70 years in Oceanside with Scott Ashton, CEO of Oceanside Chamber of Commerce. Come on down. Yay. So a few more years in the turkey trot, 18 years turkey trot and 70 years Jordan's Upholstery, right? Oh, well, the whole family. Guys, this is really, truly O-side, right? Oh my gosh. Well, Scott, I'm going to go ahead and hand this to you.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Really appreciate the opportunity to recognize Jordan's Upholstery and Manufacturing tonight. They were founded in 1954 here in Oceanside by their dad, Jimmy, and so in 2024, they'll be celebrating 70 years of business in Oceanside. So to put that in perspective, I believe the city's issuing business licenses right now in the 5-digit numbers, and their business license number is it 119? So they've been around for a while. We're actually working on an article about them for our Best of Oceanside magazine that comes out in January, so you'll have an opportunity to read a little bit about the history of the business and the family. But you know, to succeed in business for any length of time, you have to do a lot of things right, but for 70 years, that's just absolutely incredible. So kudos to the family for everything that you've done to serve. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So congratulations just on 70 years, and just want to give you the opportunity to say a few words.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for allowing our business to continue here in Oceanside. Our parents loved Oceanside. We've been here since 1946, and the best part about our business is the customers, and that's Oceanside. We've met so many people who knew our mom and dad, and the funny stories and the sweet stories that they've shared with me and my brother Andrew is just really lifelong memories that I can tell to my kids. So thank you again. We're military. My mom was Navy, my dad was Army. Wow. So the big game, Army and Navy, was big at our house. But we appreciate our military. We love our military. We thank you for your service and all your families, what you sacrifice for us. So again, thank you, Oceanside.
So wonderful. We're going to go ahead and take a picture. All the generations here. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Thank you. 1,000 thanks for the business. Thank you. Believe you know your side for so long.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow, this is a wonderful night for Oceanside businesses because next we have something really special. It's kind of like a first time that we're going to celebrate this. And this is Proclamation in honor of Shop Small Business Saturday. Excuse me. And Shop Local Oceanside. So come on down Main Street. Who else is here for this? Yay, come on down. You know, small businesses have been the backbone of Oceanside's economy. I remember, maybe some of you folks would remember that Oceanside's business, it wasn't as diverse, the business community, as it is now. So a lot had to do with our military. And so whenever there was a major deployment, downtown seemed like a ghost town, right? Kind of seemed like a ghost town. But you know what? The small businesses never left Oceanside. They believed in Oceanside. They continue to believe in Oceanside. And for us, it's kind of now, in the last 10 years to 15 years, what we've really seen is a lot of entrepreneurship. Young folks who are like really, able to just invest in their future, our future, and it's been so exciting. I mean, we're just on the top of everybody's list, I think. So, Gumaro, were you gonna be here? Come on up, Gumaro. It's a Haley show, okay. What is that, Osage Haley? Yeah, Haley. All right, so we have Proclamation. Whereas the City of Oceanside celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community. And whereas City of Oceanside values its partnership with Main Street Oceanside, a nonprofit organization dedicated to the economic enhancement and preservation of community in Oceanside through the support of local businesses during 'tis the season to shop local. Of course, you want to sing that out, right? And whereas, according to the U.S. Small Business Administration, there are 33 million small businesses in the United States. Small businesses represent 99.7% of firms with paid employees. Small businesses are responsible for 62.7% of net new jobs created since 1995. And small businesses employ 46.4% of the employees in the private sector of the United States. And whereas 68 cents of every dollar spent at a small business in the United States stays in the local community, and every dollar spent at small businesses creates an additional 48 cents in local business activity as a result of employees and local businesses purchasing local goods and services. And whereas 72% of consumers reported that Small Business Saturday 2022 made them want to shop and dine at small, independently owned retailers and restaurants all year long. And whereas the City of Oceanside supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities. And whereas advocacy groups, as well as public and private organizations across the country, have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Shop Small Business Saturday. Now you know what that is, right? It's sandwiched in between Friday and then Monday, right? Yes. And whereas, actually now therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Esther C. Sanchez, do hereby proclaim November 25th, 2023, as Shop Small Business Saturday, Shop Local Oceanside, and urge all residents and visitors of Oceanside and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Shop Small Business Saturday and to shop local Oceanside throughout the year. And I do urge everyone to come to our wonderful shops. Skip the Friday, stay home Friday, and come out Saturday to our Oceanside businesses. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Haley Ridgey, and I'm the lead event coordinator at Main Street Oceanside. We would like to invite you to support our small business community on Saturday, November 25th, during our Shop Small Business Saturday. We will kick off the event with a maker's market here on Pierview Way from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The Maker's Market includes local handmade goods, handmade jewelry, original artwork, and much, much more. The Sip and Shop event will take place starting at 1 p.m. and it'll end at 4 p.m. Check-in for the event will be right here at the fountain area at City Hall, and we will be selling tickets on site from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. We have 16 Sip Stop locations that will host a local craft beverage, and tickets are $30 if you pre-buy them now, or they'll be $40 day of. Funds raised through this event will go towards 3 major prizes, and for every $50 that you spend in downtown Oceanside, it will earn you a chance to win one of 3 grand prizes. The first one is an Oceanside staycation at the Seabird Hotel. That includes a breakfast or a lunch at Piper, a couples massage at Ocean Village Massage, a whale watching tour with Oceanside Adventures, ending with dinner at Orfila Winery. The second one would be an e-bike from Ride O-Side, and the third grand prize would be a walking food tour with Linda and Carla's Food Tours, which I've done, and it's very, very fun. On behalf of Main Street Oceanside, we thank you so, so much for supporting our small business community, and thank you so much for your time today. Yes. Let's have a picture. Yep.
Thank you, thank you. Oh, right. Thank you. Okay, next is a closed session report by Mr. Mullen.
Mayor and Council, there was no closed session, so there's nothing to report.
Yay. All right. Next are consent items, which are items 3 through 10. 11 has been pulled by staff. Is there a motion to approve?
We do have a speaker on item number 10.
Okay. Is there a second? And then I will go to the, okay. So let's go to the public.
Jimmy Knott?
Yep.
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane. Pulled this item just to let the public know that in the part of the Housing Commission's biennial work plan is an opportunity for the manufactured home community to take concerns other than those for 16B to the Housing Commission. Director Hines has started meeting with certain interests, individuals, and she's taking actions that will take and result in hopefully an education process. So just wanted to thank them and thank the department for taking those actions.
Thank you, Mr. Knott. All right, there's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Let's go to item number 15. This is advanced written request to reserve time to speak. Starting with A, Mr. Ken Layton.
Hiya. It was quite the intrigue last meeting when out of the blue, you called for a closed session meeting to discuss in secret the city's contract with the Chamber of Commerce 2 years before it was up. This contract, which has been in effect for 23 years, gives our chamber the only free rent in the county. Your closed session chamber lease meeting was abruptly canceled 2 hours prior with no explanation. No one would even say who called it in the first place. Our Chamber of Commerce gets free rent for 25 years for services it no longer provides. An email from the city attorney basically said, quote, "There's nothing to see here," paraphrasing, and suggested I may have it out for the chamber. I worked with the Solana Beach Chamber, booking talent and securing sponsors for the Fiesta del Sol from the mid-90s to 2006. The Fiesta del Sol became a major fundraising engine for the chamber, going from like 5,000 in sponsorships to almost 70,000 per event. And the Fiesta became a major boost to the Solana Beach tax base and to its image. Chambers of commerce are usually a boon to the community, but our chamber has become a political club to keep getting free money from the city. It sank Harbor Days after 60 years and never even allowed others who care deeply about it to keep it alive. And while some chambers have seminars to help local businesses adapt to a changing business climate, Oceanside's chamber has meetings to help you become more political. The current contract says the chamber gets free rent as long as it operates the Welcome Center, which it hasn't done for 13 years, and that it oversees public functions now performed by Visit Oceanside and Main Street. The city attorney's contention that there is nothing to see here led me to ask a former mid-management employee of Oceanside for decades, who told me, if the chamber no longer performs the duties prescribed in the contract is void. And what about that city-owned property at 928 North Coast Highway? How much could the city be getting for it now at current market rate? I just spoke with an OPOA board member who said we are not keeping up with other cities in this increasingly difficult crunch to recruit and retain police officers. Say, Mr. Ex-Cop Kime, how much money are we keeping out of the general fund and not paying our police so the chamber can keep getting free rent? Oh, and does this free rent lease renewal you tried to keep secret have anything to do with the fact that you, Mr. Kime, and 2 other councilmen get cash from the Oceanside Chamber PAC to get reelected, located at 928 North Coast Highway? Bring this all out in the open now. Tell us about any you goose me and I'll goose you arrangements you wanted to keep secret. I think that would be a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Arlene Hammerschmidt.
Plan B. Good evening. Arlene Hammerschmidt, Rural-ish Fire Mountain. Honorable Mayor and council members, thank you for your time. We all know this phrase, complete it aloud if you feel moved. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Yes, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Is city leadership going to continue to be part of the problem by allowing a mess that is the Parks and Recreation Department to continue, or become part of the solution? One part of the problem is the current process for allotting field and facilities permits. It results in a distinctive divide, the haves and have-nots. Current policy, including application of these 2 antiquated documents, which are ghosts, is wholly inadequate. Allotment becomes subjective at best, apparently politically influenced or manipulated by city leaders at worst. The community's lack of trust in Parks and Recreation admin and top staff who make permitting decisions behind closed doors contributes to department dysfunction. Past and current results are the haves mostly youth, sport and athletic groups that continually receive permits, and the have-nots, some of which have higher percentage of Oceanside residents than the groups that continually receive permits. Yet the have-nots are continually denied permits. The drama of haves and have-nots played out last night at Parks and Recreation Commission during public comment on the Standing Committee's report and submission of a temporary working draft revision of the user group classification guide. Parents and students of a public charter school, which is not a City of Oceanside OUSD joint use agreement school, but was wrongly granted that status about 5 years ago by then Parks and Recreation Department manager, claims less than 65% City of Oceanside residents has a high priority to receive prime fields and facilities permits. All took to the podium and lamented their fears of losing what they have, which had been wrongly granted, and becoming have-nots. Time and expense of traveling beyond Oceanside to practice and commit, higher cost of renting fields from OUSD, Carlsbad, or Vista, being a city taxpayer but not having access to Oceanside's fields and facilities. The irony of the scene, all were expressing exactly what many, many of our residents of Oceanside, youth, sport, and athletic leaders have-nots experienced for decades. The syndrome of being a have-not. Fear, rejection, discrimination, loss of hope for higher education athletic scholarships, grief, and being disconnected from community. The solutions are laid out in the third-party consultant's recommendations to improve Parks and Recreation Department. The problem is Mr. Lee's recommendations appear to have been languishing on a shelf somewhere for about 3 months. The city seems set on continuing the policy and practices by the same tainted personnel that caused this part of the problem. What's the city's plan to implement these recommendations to improve Parks and Recs? Because complaining is without offering a solution is just whining, I offer you this. Before December 15, 2023, when permits will be allotted, implement 4 steps toward moving toward a fair and more equitable process. Require and verify at least 70% Oceanside residency by valid documented proof. Public oversight of all permitting decisions by the Parks and Recreation stakeholder. Save our streets. Eliminate priority of longtime user groups or previous permits. Restrict Mr. Olson and Palmer from all permitting decisions as recommended. Or will city leadership continue to be part of the problem by allowing the foul practice to continue that results in longstanding community members being the have-nots, not trusting Parks and Rec, feeling disrespected, losing hope of higher education scholarships which lift families for generations, feeling shunned if not discriminated against, having little to no access to what their taxes fund.
Thank you very
Please
much.
be part of the solution.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item number 16, communications from the public regarding items not on this agenda. Do we have any speakers?
We have 11 speakers registered for item number 16.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started.
Our first speaker is Mikhail Medeo, to be followed by Jimmy Knott, to be followed by Michael Wilson, to be followed by Jim Waite, and we do have 2 podiums, so please make your way down.
I could just good evening, Mayor Sanchez, Deputy Mayor Kime, and council members. Nice to see you again. I'm coming to talk once again about the impact of the Eddie Jones project, especially in light of the fact that the draft EIR was published 2 weeks ago, and I've been combing through the 500 pages. I was a little concerned about some of the conclusions from the impacts analysis. But I won't go into that too much because I can't cover that in 2.5 minutes. So one thing I'd like to show you is I've hand-drawn a map. Sorry, I'm a child of the 70s and 80s, so I don't know how to do this fancy stuff on a computer. But I've drawn out a little map, or highlighted a little map, showing the proposed Eddie Jones project and also its proximity to the Ocean Camp, which obviously was passed by the City Council last year. At the top, you'll see a red star. That is the site of a fire, which I have photos to go along with that. That occurred in our cul-de-sac in June of 2012. And the reason I mention that, and I colored a couple roads down that lead to the purple road, which is Benet Road, which is where the Eddie Jones project is proposed to build on the land just to the east of that. And also the pink, or actually the green line that goes down is Fusat Road, and that is the only other access to our community. And as you can see, at the very top where the red star is and the site of the fire, it abuts Camp Pendleton. So in other words, there's no way to access that except through Fusat or Benet. I also made a drive from the Oceanside Fire Department, the closest station, which is Station 7. In no traffic and abiding by the speed limit, I could get to my house in about 7 minutes and 40 seconds. So my question is, as we go through this EIR and they say over and over again that there's no impact fire or emergency egress, I would ask you to make the drive yourself, and if you can, just visualize what this community will look like if off Fusat we have 90 acres that are being developed to include 670 new homes, a hotel, and all the things that go along with Ocean Camp. And this new development, which is literally 0.25 miles away, and Benet and Fusat are only 0.7 miles from each other. So one of my concerns, because I live in the northernmost part of that community, is that traffic will cause such a problem, especially with 114 potential semi-trucks that are coming up and down Benet, that they won't be able to reach us in time. And in light of what happened in Hawaii, I just would really like to bring that to your attention, because if this passes, my fear is that it'll be too late. Next time, I'd like to dig into the rest of the stuff with the EIR, and I also like to thank Ms. Kane for her work with the turkey trot, because everything that helps our community is really important, and that's really awesome that she did that work. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Modello. Mr. Knott?
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane. I know that Councilmember Robinson was at the Onward Oceanside meeting the other day, and I was there. A few other people maybe in the audience were there as well. I would have brought in some child blocks or some boxes, and because that was basically the presentation. It really had lack of inspiration. And what it got me thinking about is the monstrosity that's being built across the street from the In-N-Out Burger, and how that if you want to feel depressed, go there, sit for 10 minutes, and look at it, and then you'll move on. The view has been totally obstructed. There are cities around this world that are doing better jobs. That are doing things in tiers, that are opening up the viewpoints within buildings. Now, I know my friends on the left and my friends on the right will disagree with me, because one will look more for the funding and the money, the other one will look for more green space. But there's a happy medium in the other communities around the world of having open spaces, to have streams that are actually built into the buildings, that there are green areas built into the buildings that make it look wonderful. And there are open spaces that you can look through the buildings that are there. Singapore is just one example. And they have a lot of public housing there. So we need to have more vision, more inclusiveness that can be really something for this nation. And we can be an example of what can be, instead of the old, go by the old book of blocks after blocks after blocks of blocks. And the reason why I bring that up is after sitting downtown there for 10 minutes, I don't want to be run away from Oceanside. I want to be brought in. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Wilson.
Yes, I just wanted to speak quick on the Eddie Jones project. I cannot think of a more horrible location for a project like that. And I think anyone voting for this project should put themselves in our shoes. And if you lived up there, would you want this mess? It's going to make it impossible to getting in and out of there. It's going to be a pollution, from air pollution because of the wind coming in off the ocean. It's going to blow everything right up on the hill where we live. So I just, I honestly feel that anyone who votes for this project should lose their seat in the next election. And they sure won't get a vote from me. Okay,
Thank you, sir. Jim Waite.
Honorable Mayor, City Council members, staff, public, Jim Waite, my wife Robin and I have lived in Oceanside for about 15 years, and I'm simply wanting to state my opposition to this Eddie Jones project, massive warehouse distribution center. The draft EIR, Environmental Impact Report, just dropped, and I want to ensure everyone on the council here that we are, dozens of us, looking at this in detail. We've been apprehensive of what might come out, and we've been critical of transparency, or the lack of transparency. Well, it's right there. So we will be getting back, and we're looking forward to seeing further discussion, and we only have a few days left. But again, my opposition is very strong to this project.
Thank you, Mr. Waite. Thank you. Wayne Godney, followed by Joe Hood.
Mayor Sanchez, Council, thanks for having me tonight. Appreciate all the work that you do in our community. I just had Mr. Navarro some pages of about the last 6 months of what the standing committee and our two volunteers, Arlene and I, had to deal with in the classification guide. Keep in mind, nobody from Rec Admin came to the standing committee to discuss and have a dialogue about the current user classification guide that's been in effect since 2010. When you look in the rental package, you see that even the Beach Community Center hasn't been named, or there's no photo of the Junior Sal Beach Community Center. It's the one from 2010. Junior passed away in 2012. I'm here, we need a little bit more respect for the Pacific Island of Samoan community. For 3 years, I've been coming here for a couple years. Thunder Rugby is still going out to Tamarack, playing at Valley Middle School. Over 300 of our youth. Those youth are the same youth that you would see if you went to Don Yasakochi's basketball training program. Okay, they go to Army Navy Academy. They're volunteers. They're 70% Oceanside residents. So when we did this draft, it's a temporary draft. Had a great conversation with Glenn Hinton from Coastal Academy. Last night was wonderful. I met boys that I raised at the Boys Club of Oceanside before it was Boys and Girls Club. It was wonderful to connect. It was like a reunion. But I also had calls from some of the sports groups on why they got a call from Rec Admin to come down. They thought it was another workshop. And when I said, no, it's a Parks and Rec Commission meeting, well, why are we getting called for that? I don't know. And it makes me a little bit, frustrated and suspicious of some of these things. And that's why you have that. That wasn't in your packet last week when Arlene Hammerschmidt handed out how we got here. This is how we got here. I had a great conversation with one of our Samoan pastors today. We're concerned. And, we just need a little bit more respect from Rec Admin. And my last thing I'd like to say, if you're going to allocate, we had a feeling that this guide keeps getting kicked down the road, so it's not ready to rubber stamp the same people that have had these fields for 20 years. Please allow the standing committee, the volunteers, any combination of, or our liaison for our cultural Samoan group, Jesse Montanez and Save Our Streets, to be a part of any of this going forward if you're going to allocate permits, so that we have somebody we trust involved in that. Nobody's been moved. You have the same people that have allocated that cause problems. Let's get it right, because it's only a document. Classification is just a document. It's the people that are allocating behind the document. And that's where we're coming from. We just want to have everybody treated fair, people that showed up last night, and the people in the future, the sports groups that's been showing up to the workshop. Okay, they were not joint use coastal, but they have a place in it. That's why it was a temporary draft. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Hood?
Good evening. I'm Joe Hood, president of North County Climate Change Alliance. The world's leading scientists have identified 9 planetary boundaries, Earth systems, that we must not exceed if we want a safe and sustainable future. We've exceeded 6 of these 9 boundaries already and must pull back. The boundary that we have exceeded by the largest margin is biodiversity. 25% of all species are at risk of extinction, and half of all species have declining populations today. 1, the proposed Eddie Jones warehouse would risk worsening our extinction rate. The Pacific pocket mouse, a federally listed endangered species, has been seen at the site, as has the American badger, a species covered by the MSCP. And least Bell's vireo is a federally endangered bird, and the southwestern pond turtle is a state species of special interest. 2, the quote, Health Air Report released last week says that San Diego area has the 8th worst air quality in the United States, causing per year, A, nearly 500 excess deaths, B, nearly 19,000 occurrences of cardiovascular and respiratory morbidities, and C, over 1,330,000 adversely impacted days in our county. 3, the proposed warehouse will bring thousands of obscenely polluting trucks to our community, polluting air, noise, traffic, land, and water. It would be unconscionable to approve this project. 4, jobs are important. Why not work to bring healthy, environmentally safe jobs to this site? Consider that it is large enough to host a green business incubator. The site could also accommodate a pocket forest, which has been proven to increase biodiversity. Your obligation to our citizens is to ensure a safe and prosperous future. In short, if you vote to bring pollution to Oceanside, you should be voted out of office.
Thank you, sir. And I apologize, Mr. Borrego, you had wanted to speak.
Yeah, I did, actually. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to take this opportunity to speak to the process that's ongoing with regards to the Parks and Recreation field allocation process. As the City Council knows, we are in the process of working with the community to develop a field usage package and a prioritization guideline document that is fair to all user groups, and we're committed to doing that. Of course, the Parks and Recreation Commission has established a standing committee to study this very issue, and staff has been working in partnership with that committee. At last night's Parks and Recreation Commission meeting, we did receive a unanimous vote by the commission to continue working on that field guide use classification form, with staff taking the lead and working with the community and the standing committee to fine-tune that document to ensure at the end of the day that it does fairly represent the interests of all groups. I also did want to take an opportunity to address some of the concerns that continue to be raised regarding parks staff, Parks and Recreation staff. And as the City Council knows and has been shared to many members of the public, at the request of the public, we did do an investigation of the events behind some of the allegations that have been made regarding unfair classification and so forth. The investigator that was hired to complete this study did determine while there were errors made, there were no nefarious activities or actions on the part of Parks and Recreation staff. And I want to make that point very clear because there are members of the public that continue to make allegations against Parks and Recreation staff that I quite frankly believe are quite unfair, which is the reason that we hired an outside independent investigator to investigate their actions. And again, they were found not to have committed any nefarious actions, and I just think it's very important to put that on the public record. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Borrego. And at the same time, there are communications with the Oceanside Unified School District on a joint use agreement, which will change the access. We'll have better access.
That's a very important component of the ongoing efforts that we're undertaking, and we have, I believe, reached a successful negotiation with the school district, which is going to result in opening up many additional facilities for public usage, including school grounds, gymnasiums, and even perhaps some of the stadium fields as well for public use, which would be a huge benefit to the community, and I believe will go a long way towards addressing some of the concerns that have been raised regarding the lack of adequate access to our parks and recreation facilities.
Thank you, Mr. Borrego. And Mr. Mellon's looking at me like, okay, this is not a discussion item. So I appreciate, though. What was that? Yes, I was reading your mind. Thank you. Mr. Joel Naylor, I believe that's where Joel Naylor. Hi, how you doing?
No, you. But anyway.
Yeah.
I know you for a long time, but gentlemen, see you guys too. But Oceanside only have 30, they have 30 fields on, Oceanside only have 11, as field wise. That's only 11. I do not understand that. Why? I mean, I don't know anything about that. Look, I've been living in Oceanside 63 years. I'm 64, but anyway, I just wonder why they don't have that. They don't have the lights. What happened to all the security? Sometimes they need security because some of these kids, they come out there and play, and they just run around. I don't know, what's going on with that situation, but that's the parents' thing. And another thing I think about, why, I can't answer that question right now. I have to think about that one. Yeah, but anyway, so what are we gonna do about the security? Like they have a security, but when they have recreation, sports-wise, how come there's no security? Because these people running around like a jungle. I don't understand that. Why? I don't know the parents. I don't know where is the security at. I don't know about that situation. I still have to think about certain things, but I just want to see, because I went to Oceanside High School, which you already know that.
Yeah,
But
OHS, we are the best.
Yeah.
You're wearing it, right?
Yeah, I just be a hooper like Junior Seau. He was one of the greatest. He beat my record for basketball. I leave that alone. But anyway, rest in peace. But anyway, that's all I have to say about that situation. The security. That's why because I used to do security. I retired. Anyway, that's all I got to say, gentlemen. I'm seeing you. God bless.
Thank you very much. Madeline Lee, followed by Jochen Gressler.
Hello. Good evening, Mayor Sanchez, council members. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak with you all tonight. My name is Madeline Lee, and I'm a voting Oceanside resident here in District 4. And I am an associate professor at California State University, San Marcos. It's my 10th year there in the Department of Social Work. And my area of research is on the quality of care, improving care for children and families in the child welfare system with mental health needs who end up in special education and unfortunately in our juvenile legal system. And I am a co-investigator of a Stop the Hate grant that was funded by our state Department of Social Services. Me along with colleagues at CSUSM, Dr. Teresa Suarez in sociology and Dr. Christina Holub in public health. And this was really in response to the dramatic surge in hate crimes that we have all seen in the past few years. And our team were named Unified Asian Pacific Islander Desi American Communities Together, otherwise known as UACT. And we aim to better position our university, our local university, to address anti-Asian tension, hate, bias, and discrimination, as well as their consequences. And we have people on our grant, liaisons, as personnel who are deeply rooted in this Oceanside community, Leah Mauga and Grant Muaga Tutia, who are longtime Oceanside residents. And one of our very important partners is Save Our Streets. And the reason for this is because we really believe in what Mr. Wayne Gaudinot has been doing in this community for decades. And we're really using this grant to amplify their efforts. And so I'm here tonight to stand with them. And I know he is a recognized leader here in this community. And I first met him at a play day in Bishop Park, and it was actually on September 29th. And I'll always remember that because on my way home, there was a shooting less than a mile away. And it was our youth who killed a 29-year-old man that afternoon. And I wondered, what if those youth were with us at that play day? What if they were engaged in some other way? What could have made a difference? And I think this issue around the user group classification guide for the Parks and Rec is essentially an issue of fairness, access to public space, and it can impact community violence. And I think we all know the value of public space. That there's research that actually shows that residents near public spaces where shootings occur report limited access to safe outdoor space. And in contrast, if you leave parks open, you literally leave the lights on, it can decrease crime. And
Thank you,
so
Ms.
I
Lee.
think this is a good opportunity for us to re-examine. Thank you.
Thank you. Jochen Kressler?
Yes, thank you. Signed up to speak last meeting, couldn't do it because my children brought back home. I also live in the neighborhood behind the airport, so probably obviously I'm also against the Eddie Jones project. The pollution, the noise, the safety issues have been talked about already. But I think there's two more things in addition to that I think everybody should consider. There is basically one turn lane to get onto Bennett from the 76, and that gets already pretty filled up very often. And once you add a couple of semi-trucks to that, it's going to back up into the 76 and basically turn that into a one-lane highway. So basically all through rush hour and any other high traffic times, and when there's a load of trucks coming in, 76 will be reduced to a one-lane highway for that time, backing up everybody. And on top of that, the pollution, not just from the exhaust, but also from the abrasions from tires and brakes that are, very large from semi-trucks like that, they get carried along with the wind. And there's been a study a few years ago that was published in the LA, that was covered in the LA Times and other news outlets that showed that sort of pollution, those microparticles carry along, particularly with a nice, soft ocean breeze, the kind we really get in the afternoon towards the evening. And the reason why that is important, because that can carry on for well over a mile. And right in the path of that breeze, coming from that warehouse, from all those trucks, is probably the biggest and best skate park in Oceanside. My son just this weekend for the first time went out there. And it's always packed with kids, particularly around that time, right? Right when we get from the afternoon to closer to the evening, and we get that beautiful ocean breeze that we all love. And it would carry all that schmutz, all that soot, all those abrasions, all that exhaust right into the lungs of these kids. So obviously I live in that area. I'd be directly affected, but even if you don't live there, kids from all over Oceanside come there. They're right there, e-bikes on the trail. Often they ride it too fast, I admit that, but they ride it there to get there from all over. And they'll be right in that path. So please don't allow this project to go forward. Find something better. Like the gentleman said earlier, we're not against doing something with that lot. We know it's valuable land for the city of Oceanside, but do something that fits with the neighborhood it is now, not how it was 25 years ago when the zoning was done, that benefits that community and all of Oceanside. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Edwin Jenkins?
Mayor Sanchez, council members and staff. I'm Ed Jenkins. I reside just north of the airport in the community that many of the other speakers have spoken about. I am going on record as being adamantly opposed for the Eddie Jones project. This project has no positives for the city of Oceanside or its residents. In fact, as many of the other speakers have already outlined, it comes with almost a complete laundry list of negatives. Also, this project would actually be against what Oceanside has been moving towards in the recent past. Oceanside, this council and prior council members before have worked very diligently to enhance tourism and to make Oceanside a vacation destination. Just in our neighborhood, we have the parachute opportunity at the airport. If you want to jump out of planes, they're perfectly good. We have the skate park, and Ocean Camp is coming online. These are all positive, both for locals and for tourists. But this monstrosity building on that site would be in opposition to all of the things that you folks have been working for. That site has a much higher and better use than to plunk some big box building that will only benefit the developer. And the developer is the only one that is going to gain from this. And it'll be at our expense, the expense of every one of the 5 areas of our city, the city its entirety, and it go beyond our borders and affect residents in the adjacent communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We're going to go ahead and go over to adoption of ordinances, item number 17. We have adoption of an ordinance amending Oceanside City Code, Chapter 2, Sections 2.1.26b, 2.1.27d, and 2.1.38d to allow organized presentations by members of the public at city council meetings subject to specific requirements. Motion to adopt? There's a motion to adopt. There's a motion and second. Are there any requests to speak from the public? Okay. Introduce the ordinance. Mr.
We
Mueller?
introduced it at the last time. I'll title
sorry.
it for adoption.
Title,
This is
that's right.
the adoption of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Oceanside, amending Oceanside City Code Chapter 2, Sections 2.1.26 Subdivision B, 2.1.27 Subdivision D, and 2.1.38 Subdivision D to allow organized presentations by members of the public at city council meetings subject to specific requirements.
Thank you. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 18 is adoption of an ordinance to amend Oceanside City Code 2.52 to exempt the proposed energy conservation project from the voter approval requirement under uncodified ordinance 84-19. Is there a motion to adopt? Okay, there's a motion. There's a second. Any requests to speak from the public? No. All right. Mr. Mullen, please title the ordinance.
This is the adoption of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Oceanside, amending Chapter 2, Article 9, Section 2.52 of the Oceanside City Code to exempt the financing of energy conservation facilities as defined in Government Code Section 4217.11 from the voter approval requirement of uncodified Ordinance 84-19 and Ordinance 97-19.
Thank you. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Okay, we have a couple of minutes.
Oh.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and take a very short break. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and continue with public hearing items, 6 o'clock time, certain items. Item number 12, which is introduction of ordinance amending chapters 29 and 37 of the City Code, establishing wastewater use rate increases and water user rate and external water provider charge increases. I want to go ahead and open up the hearing and ask for disclosures from council members regarding constituent contacts and correspondence. Staff. Oh, we did have a few emails too, yes. A few, actually several. And Mr. Weiss?
Staff, and we received copies of the protest notices.
Right. Ditto across the board. So, Mr. Navarro, do we have any correspondence and/or petitions?
We've forwarded all the correspondence that we received up to 4 o'clock today to the council. And we received 2 additional protests after 4 o'clock. And I was asked to make a announcement that if anybody in the chamber would like to submit a written protest, we do have staff from the water department in the lobby as well.
Okay, maybe you can announce that one more time so that everyone understands they can.
If anybody objects to the water rate, you could file a written protest with any staff member in the lobby, with the water department, or if you're watching at home, you could send an email to cityclerk@oceansideca.org before the end of the public hearing.
Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and begin this hearing with testimony by Lindsay Leahy, who's our Water Utilities Director. Ms. Leahy.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. Lindsay Leahy with the Water Utilities Department here tonight to present item 12, the proposed water and sewer rates. With me tonight is Alexander Bugby. He's a principal analyst with Carollo Engineers. Alex does our water rate modeling and all of our financial models for the water utility, and he'll be available to answer any questions specific to the model, the cost of service study that was performed, or any details I cannot myself. Tonight, staff is introducing an ordinance amending Chapter 29 and 37, establishing water and wastewater user rates and water external provider charges, and recommending to City Council to implement the user rates and external water provider charges. Water and sewer utilities are required to follow Proposition 218. With that, that means that City Council is required to establish a date and time of a majority protest public hearing. Staff is required to notify customers at least 45 days before such public hearing with a written notice of a Prop 218 notice. Additionally, we're required to hold the public hearing, which we are tonight, and rates are required to be compliant with California's Prop 18 methods of establishing rates.
I'll just pause you right there just for a second, so that Councilmember Joyce can disclose his constituent contacts on our correspondence.
Staff and emails from the constituents.
Thank you.
So again, rates are required to be compliant with Proposition 218. So what that means is that the utility is only allowed to charge based on actual cost of providing a service. This means that one ratepayer or class cannot subsidize another. So we often get requests for a low income rate, a fixed income rate. We get requests to lower agricultural rates or raise agricultural rates. And what this means is the utility can only provide the actual cost of service and cannot lower one rate or raise one rate based on requests. A user is only allowed to be charged based on their use of the system. So if one customer class, say residential, is using the majority of the system, the residential costs or rates are going to include the majority of the infrastructure costs proportionally to their rate or their use. Again, this is a public protest process, and as our city clerk mentioned, we have staff in the lobby if anyone wanted to write a public protest. This means that customers are allowed to submit their concerns in writing to staff by the close of tonight's public hearing. If less than 50% of customers protest the rates, then City Council may consider adopting the proposed rates at the public hearing. The utility has about 45,000 customers, so 50% would be about 22,500 protests. As our clerk mentioned, by 4 o'clock we had about 30 protests. I think we received 2 extra tonight. So as of this moment, we have not received 50% protest. This is showing the steps that we've done to date. The staff has met with our budget committee, our utilities commission. Notices were mailed September 29th, so meeting the 45-day requirement prior to tonight's public hearing. And then if approved, the proposed rates would be effective January 1st of both 2024 and 2025 as documented in the 218 notice. When developing rates, there are multiple considerations that we look at. Again, we need to make sure that rates are fair and equitable to all customer classes. We have to ensure that we're recovering the cost to provide those services, that we're fully funding our operating and replacement reserves, we're meeting our bond covenants and able to pay for our debts. And then in our water and wastewater rates, we're assuming a flat consumption. So we're not assuming that we're going to have a lot of water consumption or drastic conservation in the coming years. And furthermore, we want to make sure that rates are smooth and stable into the future. Having multiple years of 0% increases results in big spikes in the future in order to make up for the lost revenue over time. Rates are compounding, so increasing rates or small amounts over time, year over year, does allow for the utility to maintain a smooth process and smooth revenue increases. This year, we did renew and complete a cost of service study looking at, again, how the water is being used throughout our system. And what this does is look at the required revenue needed for the department to meet our obligations, again, the consumption patterns in the city, as well as what's needed in order to complete our capital program. Carollo Engineers did complete this cost of service study. And again, Alex is here tonight to answer any questions you may have on that. The City of Oceanside's proposed rate increase for water for 2024 and 2025 are 6% each year, respectively. For sewer is 4% and 2.5% each year. Again, these rates, if approved, would be effective January 1st of each of those years. And it's important to note that the city's water and sewer rates have not increased since January of 2021. In 2021, council directed staff to utilize rate stabilization funds to forego any increases. So the last 2 years of 22 and 23, there have been no increases on city rates. The city's water department consists of 2 water treatment plants, an advanced water plant, over 590 miles of pipeline, 18,000 valves, 7,000 hydrants, and 12 reservoirs. Similar to all businesses, customers, residents in the country, the utility is also experiencing large amounts of inflation. These are some of the increases the utility has seen since 2021, with huge increases in costs of 8-inch pipe, hydrants, and then what people don't really realize is how much energy it takes to both treat as well as distribute water. So the utility does have a high amount of energy consumption to distribute water, and we've in turn seen huge amounts of increases in energy costs to do so. In addition to tonight's rates for the city, the ordinance also includes water pass-through rates from Metropolitan Water District as well as San Diego County Water Authority, both of our water wholesalers. These rates from Metropolitan are passed directly through to San Diego County Water Authority, and the Water Authority in turn passes them on to the City of Oceanside, and the City of Oceanside passes these on directly to customers. There is no additional revenues received by the city, and all revenues received by customers are directly passed through back to our wholesalers. This is an example bill for a single-family residential water bill. This is only water consumption. I have another slide for wastewater. This shows a low to high water user, with a low water user using about 6 units of water. So 1 unit of water is 748 gallons. And an increase to a low water user would be about $6 a month beginning January 1st if these are approved, and just under $20 a month for a high water user using 24 units. This is showing a recycled water customer, and there's a big difference in water consumption for recycled water customers. Recycled water customers typically are just irrigating, so it's big areas of lawn. And so for a low water user in recycled, they would be using about 200 units compared to the 6 units you would see at a residential. So with that, you would see about a $32 a month increase on the low consumption user, and then about a $44 increase on the high recycled water user. It's important to note that the recycled water customers don't pay the Water Authority or the MWD pass-through rates because the city is reusing the wastewater, and so that water is not being imported and not being charged for by those wholesalers. This is a regional rate comparison of all water utilities in the county. The water utility does aim to be at or below median, and the median is shown in yellow on this graph, with Oceanside's proposed increases as of January 1st in orange. It's important to note that these are the other agencies' rates as of July. So any agency that's increased their rate since then is not reflected on this table. Other neighboring agencies have also increased rates in the last few months. You may have read in the news. For example, City of Escondido has increased their rates with an increase of 8% on January 1st of this year, followed by an annual increase of 7.5%, 7.5%, 6.5%, and 6.5% through 2028. City of San Diego has also increased their rates with a 10.2% increase effective December 1st of this year, and another increase, 8.7% increase as of January 1st of 2025. And again, those are not reflected on this chart. Staff continually makes efforts to receive grants, apply for and receive grants and low interest loans in order to mitigate costs to customers. Any grants received directly offset costs to customers and allow us to stabilize rates and keep increases low. In addition to ensuring that we're covering our revenues, there's multiple, or our expenses, there's multiple impacts to the water fund that we need to ensure that our rates are meeting. We need to ensure that we're meeting our bond coverage of 1.25 times, which I'll go into a little bit further. We need to fully fund our infrastructure replacement, our debt obligations, and our increases to our wholesalers. And we need to ensure that we are funding our restricted reserves of 45 days of our operating expenses. Furthermore, we are required to maintain our bond rating requirements. And so these are obligations when we've issued debt in the past that we need to maintain these financials moving forward until that debt is paid off. In order to maintain a AA rating, we need to ensure that we have 1.25 times our debt coverage. What this is our net operating revenues need to be greater than 1.25 times our annual debt payment. We need to also make sure that we have 150 days of cash on hand. And what this means is if everyone in the city stopped paying their bill one day, that we would continue to be able to pay our bills and operate our system for at least 150 days. And furthermore, we need to ensure that we have at least $30 million of minimum reserves in our accounts. This is looking at our water capital spending. I'm showing actuals back to fiscal year 17-18 and spending forward projected to 28-29. This chart is showing your assumed rate increases, so you see the actual increases over the last few years, as well as the assumed increases in our financial model through 2028-2029. This also shows our coverage factor for our debt obligation, our days of cash on hand, as well as our reserve balances. Again, this shows our 6% increase. And what you'll see here, and I've highlighted fiscal year 19-20, is this was about the peak of where we had the majority of our cash on hand and a lot of reserves. And what you'll see between then and today is we've decreased our cash on hand over 250 days and decreased our reserves because we've completed over $108 million in capital projects over the last 4 years. And we have $84 million worth of projects in active design or construction. So what you'll see in the next 2 years forward is, as I've highlighted in red text, is our days of cash on hand as well as our reserve balances, even with the 6% increase, do flirt on that line where we're maintaining our bond and bond rating. For the sewer infrastructure, we have 2 wastewater treatment plants that we operate, as well as 450 miles of pipeline that we maintain and 34 lift stations. Similar to the water utility, the sewer utility is seeing increases to natural gas, hauling, and chemicals in order to treat the wastewater that we receive. Wastewater rates for a single-family resident would be about a little over $1 a month to $1.60 a month for low to high water users. Similar to the water rates, we do try to maintain rates at or below median. The median, again, is shown in yellow here with Oceanside's rates shown in orange. So we're just above median currently. Again, similar to the water chart I showed earlier, this is including the other agencies' rates as of July 1st this year. There have, again, been other utilities that have increased their sewer rates since this chart was made, and those are not reflected here. Other neighboring utilities have increased rates 3.5%, 5%, 5%, 4%, and 3% over the next 4 years moving forward. The sewer utility also looks to get federal and state funding to offset costs to customers and build projects, as well as receive low-interest loans. The financial obligations for sewer match those for water, with the exception that we're required to maintain a restricted reserve of 60 days of operating expenditures. The bond rating requirements are similar to water, with the 1.25% or times coverage, 150 days of cash on hand, and 30 million minimum reserve. This is the same chart for sewer capital, showing the actuals and the future projections into 28-29. I've highlighted the current year, in which you can see that this is about the peak, similar to the year I highlighted in the water utility. What I'm trying to show here is that we have a lot of projected spending over the next few years, and that we will be drastically decreasing our days of cash on hand as well as our reserve balances over the next 5 years, with our days of cash on hand in 2030 getting into the mid-200s. And also, as we start to build our $154 million worth of construction projects. Those projects are scheduled to begin coming to council for a recommendation to award beginning of December of this year and through next year. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, the utility is not able to change or make rates to offset and subsidize one customer to another. However, there is a rate assistance program that's funded. I think it's currently funded by the federal government. It's called the Low Income Household Water Assistance Program. This program is currently available as of now through March of 2024, and they will offer a one-time payment for past due water and wastewater bills of up to $2,000. Staff is in the lobby with information about this program, as well as information for rebates for water conservation, devices for your home and business, as well as programs and classes about conserving water, water-conscious landscaping, and other programs that customers can participate in. And with that, staff would be introducing an ordinance amending Chapter 29 and 37, establishing wastewater and water user rates and external water provider charges, and recommend to the City Council to implement the user rates and external water provider charges as described in the presentation. I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Leahy. Any questions on the dais before we go to public input? Seeing none. All right, this is a public hearing. This is a time for comments from the public. Your input is very important. So if you wish, you do not have to have signed up to speak. You can speak for 3 minutes. Please state your name and then continue. Mr. Knott?
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane, La Salina Mobile Village. I protest this increase mainly because due process wasn't taken into consideration. For the past decades, I, as a representative within the mobile home community, have been given copies of the rate increase, and I distribute them within the mobile home communities to be posted in the common areas. This is the first year I have not been given any notices at all. Therefore, we who own our own homes but do not own the land were not given information about these increases. Thousands of Oceansiders had no prior knowledge about this. We were left out of the loop. So what happens is our park owners get the information. We don't. So that's number one. Number two is Social Security is slated to give us only a 3.2% 2% increase. They're asking for a 6% increase. That's a minus 2.8% deficit. That means our local businesses, restaurants, any entertainment will be losing in our city additional revenue from our lower income communities and from our mobile home community. I have advocated at the San Diego County Water Authority for low income rates. I also appreciate Director Leahy backing me up on some of this. But I also want to point out the City of the Oceanside was only one of two water districts not to participate in a state-sponsored low-income system. We were absent. So again, who will make up the rest? There is also a lack of representation onto the Utilities Commission for low-income individuals. So where is our representative? We were ignored. Please correct this.
Thank you, Mr. Knott.
Honorable Mayor Sanchez, members of the council, and the public. First, I'd like to thank the Water Department for providing clean and reliable water supply to the city residents of Oceanside. It is too often taken for granted by most people, but as somebody with an engineering background, I certainly appreciate the efforts that go into that. It is no small feat. I'd like to talk a little bit about my protest letter via email that I sent to the council and other city officials this morning, or this afternoon rather. And it involves some of the ambiguous descriptions of financing that were given in the staff report leading up to this item. We see here page 5 of the staff report up on the screen, and it really doesn't talk about what those financing charges are. It just basically says that water is going to cover, the fees need to cover the costs, and they need to meet all their operating and debt expenses, which doesn't really say a lot. It wasn't clear to me because they mentioned bonds, and bonds are usually a fixed amount of debt at a fixed rate, and I didn't understand how operating costs would impact that debt agreement. And fortunately, Mr. Gossman was kind enough to respond to my email very promptly and explain that one of the covenants of the bonds is to maintain a 20% overage over debt payments of operating cash flow. That's operating income minus operating expenses. And that's something that Ms. Leahy alluded to in her, or stated in her presentation. That explains that the costs need to go up, the income needs to go up to meet the fees, to meet the bond restrictions. And while I appreciate this explanation and the work of the Water Utilities Department, it does raise a question as to what happens with those surplus funds once the bonds are paid off. Is that money, that 20% overage, returned to residents, or does the city pocket the money? I think that's a fair question to ask. If all along users have been paying 20% additional over cost, what happens to that money when those bonds are paid off? I'd also like to point out that moving on from that, there was a similar situation at last week's agenda, the last meeting, that was also very vague on financing terms. And going forward, I'd just like to ask that perhaps when staff writes reports that they include terms that are more tangible in terms of financing. That is, what's the principal, the interest rates, duration, cash flow details, and things like that that typically consumers get when they're evaluating personal financing loan terms. That said, the fees themselves, a 6% increase over 2 years does not seem unreasonable. And I have no problem with the increase, but just the description of the fees in the future, good if we get more clarity. Thank you.
Thank you, and could you state your name for the record?
Richard Newton.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak, or did we have anyone sign up to speak?
Those were our 2 registered speakers.
Okay, anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Please rise, approach the podium, and state your name, and you have up to 3 minutes to speak. I see no one else rising, so I'm going to go ahead and close this part of the public hearing. and go to staff to see if we can get us those questions answered. Thank you, Ms. Leahy.
Thank you, Mayor. So to address Mr. Knott's first question about not receiving the 218 notice, we can look into that. We are required to mail the notices to all customers, and that would be about 45,000 mailers. However, we did try to go above and beyond. We mailed them to every address in the city, so that was 78,003 mailers that went out. I do have the confirmation from USPS, and that's kind of as far as we can control it, bless you. But that was done, and so I'm sorry if that was not received by Mr. Knott, and we can discuss further as to why and look into that. As far as the state income state low income assistance program he was referring to, this is a program that covers ongoing expenses and gaps for low-income ratepayers. This was originally discovered, or we were originally not eligible for that because the city's billing also includes city services and other funds that are not specific to water and wastewater. And our billing system didn't have a way to separate those ongoing charges because the funding only can pay for water and wastewater bills. So we did work with our billing system, our billing department, and they, I believe, have come up with a fix for our own system to be able to accommodate that. However, my understanding is the LIWAP program that I discussed and is available is a very fixed. They've changed the program again, and it's just a fixed payment, and they're not doing the ongoing payments moving forward. Again, this program is only eligible through March of 2024, and as the state and federal governments are running out of money for that, it changes with new injects of funds. As far as Mr. Newton's comments, we did discuss the debt coverage obligation. For the descriptions of loan terms and the debt terms, all of those are on, I believe, on the finance website. We do list all of our loans and bond issuances and have those documents publicly available. They're also in all of our annual financial reports as far as the debt obligations for those. For surplus funds related to that that we charge the 20 or 25% over our debt obligation, the utilities always, in part of our funding plan and in our financial model, we look at continuously issuing debt on a regular basis. So perhaps in 5, 6, 7-year chunks. So again, this allows us to make sure that we are having customers who are utilizing and receiving benefit from the infrastructure and the projects to be paying for it. Similar to a mortgage, if you are paying cash up front, the customers that have paid into that cash fund are the one that paid for that project, but then the customers 20, 30 years from now are the ones receiving benefit from it. So issuing debt on a regular basis allows us to keep rates as low as possible and then fund these bigger projects that come in big chunks of costs. And I believe that was all of the questions from our speakers.
Thank you.
Hopefully that was sufficient.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mellon, is there a way to address the lack of notice to residents that live in a mobile home park that probably only received the one notice to the park owner and or management, and that apparently was not able to be distributed to the residents who live in the individual?
Well, first, I think, from my understanding, we've complied with the Prop 218 requirements, including the Prop 218 Omnibus Implementation Act, so that's Government Code Section 53755, and I believe we have complied with it. Could we go above and beyond that? Sure. And perhaps in the future, we could ensure that mobile home park residents are given an additional notice. We could work with the department.
Because I know this is a set here for introduction, and then, of course, we're going to be adoption. We are closing the public comment period here, and this would be the last day, basically, to get protests.
Today's the last day. It is one protest per parcel owner or tenant. And so if Mr. Knott has protested, I don't know how many parcels are on that site, if it's one parcel. I assume it's one parcel. Mr. Knott, do you know?
Mr. Knott, could you stand up and speak into the mic so we can make sure we get your comments in?
That assessor parcel, are you talking about? I think there, if my memory serves me correct, is 3 parcels.
Well, we've recorded a protest on the parcel. So your question is, could you do more between now and then? There can't be any more protests received.
Right.
We've
I guess
reached
that's
the
what I was
deadline for
asking.
that, yes.
So we can't hold it open until the next hearing, which would be adoption.
No, all the protests have to be received
Right.
by now. We've
Okay.
closed the public hearing, so.
Okay, thank you very much.
And
Councilmember
Mayor,
Weiss?
I did want to just clarify. So we intended to mail them to every resident address and business address in Oceanside. So 78,000 notices did go out, not just the 45,000. Again, we can work with Mr. Knott and discuss with the post office why they may or may not have been delivered, but every resident, whether they pay the water bill directly themselves or have a master meter through a multifamily complex or a mobile home, should have gotten a notice. So we can look into that with the post office, but I do have record on my laptop of the notice being received by the post office, which is the extent of the utility's responsibility.
Thank you very much. To the council, Councilmember Weiss?
Yes, I have a couple questions for staff. So on one of your slides, you said there was a cost of service study done. Where would we find that? Because I don't remember getting it.
I believe the cost of service study is now public. It was in draft form as we were just making sure all the language was finalized and correct. None of the numbers changed, but I believe that's now a public document. We could provide it and send it to council. We can also put it on, I believe we could put it on the website as well.
Okay. So from your slides, it appears that the city increases, I'm not the pass-throughs, the city increases because you have an aggressive capital plan coming forward?
Correct.
So my concern with the increases, so for example, for fiscal year 22-23, the CIP budget for water and sewer was about 147 million. And you only actually spent 62, so it's about 42% of what was budgeted. So my concern is we're going to raise rates for capital projects, but you're not implementing the capital projects. So I will be supporting this item, but with a caution that if the capital project expenditures don't start going up, I will be supportive of a rate decrease at some point.
Thank you, Councilmember Rice. And that is an important thing to notice is that, or to make note of, is the rates that are in front of you tonight, the 6%, 6%, 4%, 2.5%, those are the maximum rates that can be charged by the utility and implemented by council. We do have the ability and the discretion to lower them. So if we did see something like we didn't hit the spending target for this coming year, we could look at lowering the rates for 2025 to kind of match what our revenue needs are. So that is, we do have that flexibility to go lower. We just can't go higher than what was issued in the Prop 218 notice.
Okay. With that, I'll move staff recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a second? Okay, there's a motion and a second. Councilmember Robinson, did you want to speak? All right. This is an introduction of an ordinance. Mr. Mullen, would you like to title the ordinance?
Would you like to vote on both the ordinances simultaneously? Does that motion include both, Ms. Weiss? Yeah. So I'll go ahead and title both, Mayor, with your permission. Yeah. This is the introduction of an ordinance of the City of Oceanside, amending Oceanside City Code Chapter 29, establishing wastewater user rate increases, as well as the introduction of an ordinance of the City of Oceanside, amending Oceanside City Code Chapter 37, establishing water user rate and external water provider charge increases.
Sorry, Councilmember Joyce would like to speak. My apologies, didn't see your light.
It's okay. It was there at the tail end. We were moving faster than I expected. I just wanted to say, anytime we see something like this come forward, especially when the cost of living generally is going up across the board and people are really struggling to make ends meet, I just want to say that this is considered very heavily by the council. I know our office took many meetings to really try and understand the reasoning behind it and why the rates have to come up. But for me, the delivery of safe water to homes and to the people that live in our city is up there with the top priorities possible. So I'm going to be supporting.
All right, thank you. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 13 is adoption of a resolution approving new residential and commercial solid waste user rates for the 2024 franchise agreement and adoption of a resolution to continue previously approved extraordinary increases to disposal fees. I'd like to go ahead and open this public hearing and request disclosures from council members regarding constituent contacts and correspondence.
Staff and representatives of Waste Management.
Staff.
Staff only.
I'm sorry, we did meet with Waste Management.
Thank you, Mr. Novato. Do we have any correspondence and/or petitions?
Any correspondence about this item was forwarded to the council. However, I did receive an objection from Jimmy Knott on the rate increase for this item.
Thank you. We begin with testimony from Rosemarie Shora, Water Utilities Division Manager.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. Rosemary Chora, Water Utilities Division Manager, and also in chambers this evening is Daniel Butler, WM Territory Manager. Staff is recommending that City Council adopt a resolution approving new residential and commercial solid waste rates for the new 2024 franchise agreement, and also adopt a resolution to continue previously approved extraordinary increases to disposal fees. The city's franchise agreement will expire at the end of this calendar year, with the new contract commencing on January 1. This agreement was approved by Council in April of 2022. This new 2024 franchise agreement will include SB 1383 compliance services and programs such as organics collection and processing and food recovery programs, among other services. Franchise-related rates must be established prior to the start of the new agreement. Some costs have increased significantly since a new agreement was approved, and staff is recommending that Council extend the previously approved 2.11% disposal fee increase through 2024. The new agreement also includes language for annual CPI increases and a rate reassessment in 2028 and 2032. Residential rates are shown in this table with increases described for typical cart bundles. This table shows rate increases related to the base 2024 franchise agreement with an average increase of just over 22%. This second table describes increases to rates related to the 2024 franchise agreement and the extension of rate increases related to disposal fees. On average, this is about a 24.5% increase. Similarly, this table shows typical commercial service rates along with increases related to the 2024 franchise agreement. On average, this is about a 23% increase with a decrease in 3-yard bin service for food scraps. Rate increases for the 2024 franchise agreement, along with the extension of the previously approved increase for disposal fees, will increase rates about 26%, and again, there will be a decrease in 3-yard bin service for food scraps. In a waste characterization study conducted in Oceanside, 60% of all residential materials placed curbside were organic, such as food, leaves, and grass. Over 30% of residential landfill material was food and paper. Ensuring that organic material is properly sorted into the green cart can reduce costs if customers opt for a smaller landfill cart. This type of right sizing is currently being promoted to our business and multifamily customers and will be promoted to our residential customers to promote cost savings. Since Waste Management began billing customers directly in May of 2023, there is no direct fiscal impact on the city. Again, staff recommends that the council adopt a resolution to approve the new franchise rates and adopt a resolution to continue previously approved extraordinary increases to disposal fees. I'm available for questions, as is Daniel Butler from Waste Management and Lindsay Leahy, Water Utilities Director. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Chora. This is a public hearing. This is the time for the council to hear from the public, get their input regarding this issue. Do we have any written requests to speak on this?
We have one from Jimmy Knott.
Okay, Mr. Knott. You would not have had to fill out anything to if you wish to speak. If you do wish to speak, just after Mr. Knott is done, please approach the podium, state your name, and then you have up to 3 minutes to speak. Mr. Knott.
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane, La Salina Mobile Village. Again, I would remind you that Social Security for our senior communities, and half of our mobile home parks are senior communities, has slated us for only a 3.2% increase. Now, there is a request for 20+% increase in waste charges, if you look at it. Now, very few of our parks have personal carts out in our mobile homes that are involved. Most of them have small business carts, group carts into certain areas. Now, this creates sort of a conflict because there is a couple parks that do have carts for individual mobile homes. So what happens is that there's no right uniform balance that I can give you. However, I can only tell you is that the same pinch will hurt one senior as it will hurt another senior, which means for our community, less available income to spend on things that we usually enjoy. Going out for a cup of coffee with a friend in the morning, or maybe celebrating a birthday. I'm not going to go into saying about the other things, but I think this is something that you understand. Now, there is one common complaint within a lot of the parks, is the brown waste containers for kitchen scraps. A lot of flies, maggots, things like that, and smells are out there when you lift the lids and when you get close to those containers. That is one common issue. This needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed to help people within our parks. I don't know about other communities or personal issues at homes, but I think that that would be uniform in helping everybody if there was more cleanliness involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knott. Anyone else wishing to speak, please approach the podium, state your name, and speak for up to 3 minutes. See no one rising, I'm going to go ahead and close this portion of the public hearing. And I actually have a couple of questions for Waste Management. Thank you. Not really about the, it's related, obviously, but not about the fees. And that is, I wanted to give you a chance to address the public regarding when organics recycling is going to be started here for residential.
Madam Mayor, thank you for calling me up. I wore the tie just in case you did, so I'm excited.
The green tie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Organics recycling will begin as of January 1.
Yes.
Although right now, if they want to get a head start on throwing those vegetable scraps and light food scraps into the green bin, they can. We encourage that practice to begin so that they understand the best behaviors moving into the new requirements as of January 1.
And I have started to receive some of the mailings from Waste Management. I really appreciate the education going out, because that was something that I really was interested in, making sure that public is getting that education.
Oh, yeah. My colleague Lori Summers has been all over that. And just to also reiterate, we're going to be replacing the current lids on the green cards too, that will show additional education so that when someone's at their actual lid, they'll see that food waste is also included into the green waste.
All right, and if somebody wanted to get a new green waste because it might be starting to fall apart, they should probably get it before the new lid goes on?
Either way, they can do it now, they can do it later.
Okay.
They're able to do so once annually, in fact.
Now, do you need to put the food organics, food things, into a separate bag inside the green waste?
So we prefer no bags
Okay.
into that green container, but you are allowed for a thin type clear bag, or what's maybe called a compostable bag, but that's tricky when it comes to what's compostable. But we prefer no bags. Paper bags are also okay. And also I want to remind council and of course the mayor that we're providing kitchen pails to all residents directly sent to them so that they can segregate the food waste from their kitchen and take it to the green bin for service.
Thank you. And final question before I get it to my colleagues here. I am aware that Waste Management has acquired agri-services, and the plan is for organics recycling to officially start January 1st, but they can start doing it now. So what is the status of that? I know that if it wasn't going to happen there, it was going to be taken to, is it Tulare?
So Tulare was a contingency plan through the RFP process. However, we never had planned to take it to South Valley Compost is the name for it. As we have acquired agri-service effective October 1, the material will be going to El Corazon at what's now called WM Compost moving forward.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that input and educate. I wanted to give you that opportunity to tell everyone what's happening. Hard line is January 1st, but you can start now.
Start now. Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have no lights. Councilmember Weiss?
Move approval, staff recommendation.
All right, there's a motion. Okay, there's a motion and a second. No further lights, I think, right? Okay. Mr. Mullen, would you please title the ordinance? Excuse me, this is just adoption of resolutions. Okay,
Correct.
please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 14 is adoption of a resolution selecting Clean Impact Plus as the default energy supply option for City of Oceanside electrical customers to be enrolled in the Clean Energy Alliance Community Choice Energy Supplier in 2024. I'd like to go ahead and open this public hearing and request disclosures from council members regarding constituent contacts and correspondence.
Staff.
Staff.
Staff?
Staff.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, do we have any correspondence and/or petitions?
All correspondence received by the city clerk's office has been forwarded to the council prior to the meeting.
Thank you. We're going to begin with testimony from Mr. Justin Gamble, who is our official city environmental officer. Mr. Gamble?
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. My name is Justin Gamble, City staff, and the Environmental Officer at the City's Water Utilities Department. And also in chambers tonight, we have Ms. Barbara Boswell, Chief Executive Officer of the Clean Energy Alliance. And I'll be presenting to you item number 14, selection of the default energy supply option for Clean Energy Alliance enrollment for Oceanside's electrical customers. Staff recommends that the City Council adopt a resolution selecting Clean Impact Plus as the default energy supply option for City of Oceanside electrical customers to be enrolled in the Clean Energy Alliance Community Choice Energy Supplier in 2024. The City Council, at its discretion tonight, may also vote to select one of the alternate energy supply options provided by the Alliance. A brief background on the concept of community choice energy, which is sometimes called CCE. Community choice energy is an alternative model of electrical supply compared to investor-owned utilities such as San Diego Gas and Electric. With community choice energy, the provider is a nonprofit public entity that purchases electricity on the open market, is fed into the existing electrical grid that is operated and maintained by SDG&E. The nonprofit focus and low overhead allows CCEs to purchase a greater share of renewable electricity, including sources like wind, solar, and geothermal power, at competitive market rates for the customer. While the community choice provider only controls the sourcing and the financing of the energy contracts, SDG&E continues to handle transmission, billing, and grid infrastructure. The goal of this model is to offer a cleaner energy mix to customers at competitive rates. Local control and customer choice are also critical to the concept of CCE. Under state law, customers individually retain the right to opt out and remain with SDG&E, and the actions of the community choice energy provider are directed by representatives of its member agency. This diagram was provided by the Clean Energy Alliance. It's posted on their website, and it illustrates how community choice energy works. Electrical power contracts are purchased by the Clean Energy Alliance from generators, and that electricity is distributed into the existing grid and delivered to customers at rates that are competitive with the incumbent utility. More mature community choice energy providers may elect to contract with generators to build dedicated renewable energy facilities to service their agencies or build out their own local renewable energy projects. A brief background on the Clean Energy Alliance. It's a community choice energy provider that was formed as a joint powers authority in 2021. This City Council elected to join the Alliance in June of last year following multiple public workshops, staff analyses, and a feasibility study. Clean Energy Alliance current member cities include the cities of Escondido, San Marcos, Carlsbad, Del Mar, Solana Beach, Vista, and Oceanside. As of July of this year, approximately 149,000 electrical accounts are enrolled with an approximate 95% participation rate. While Oceanside and Vista electrical customers are currently not being served energy sourced by CEA, the city is a voting member on the CEA Board of Directors. The rollout of electrical service to Oceanside's customers is planned for April of 2024. Honorable Mayor and City Council members, staff's recommendation tonight is ultimately a procedural matter. State law, California Public Utilities Code, Section 366.2 requires that customers are to be automatically enrolled when a community choice energy provider assumes electrical service for a given jurisdiction, following mandatory 60-day notices that are mailed to each customer. Customers will still retain the right to opt out both prior to and after the launch of service. The City Council must choose one of CEA's 3 default energy supply options offered to Oceanside customers prior to enrollment next year. Each option is based on the renewable energy content and rate. After enrollment, customers may switch options at their discretion by contacting CEA or opt out entirely and continue receiving their power sourced by SDG&E. Regardless of the default power option selected, nothing will change with the electrical infrastructure, such as wires, meters, or the grid. Enrolled customers will see a change on their SDG&E bill, indicating that their electricity generation is now provided by the Clean Energy Alliance. The 3 available energy supply options offered by CEA are grouped by their minimum renewable energy content, each with their own rate structure. The base option, known as Clean Impact, includes a minimum of 50% renewable content, which progresses annually to 100% renewable by 2035. Clean Impact Plus includes 50% renewable content with 75% carbon-free sources, progressing to 100% renewable by 2035. Green Impact is a premium product. It's currently 100% renewable and represents the premium or highest rate offered by CEA. It's important to note that the term renewable energy includes electricity that's generated from naturally replenishing sources like solar, wind, geothermal, and biomass. Carbon-free, however, includes energy that is generated from emission-free sources that are not defined as renewable. These can include examples like large hydroelectric or nuclear sources. The City Council adopted a final climate action plan in 2019 that stated a goal of procuring 75% of Oceanside's local energy demand from renewable sources by 2030. Staff's recommendation to select the Clean Impact Plus package as the default option significantly increases the likelihood of the city achieving this goal while keeping average rates for the customer competitive with SDG&E. So what are other CEA member cities currently doing? To date, all of the other current member cities that have active service have chosen the Clean Impact Plus option as the default customer enrollment. Yesterday evening, on November 14th, the City of Vista City Council also elected this option for default enrollment. Staff is recommending this option for Oceanside's customers as it balances average rates that are competitive to SDG&E with benefits of achieving our adopted climate action plan goals. However, as I stated earlier, City Council may choose one of the other two supply options as the default at its discretion. This table was provided by CEA and compares a typical Oceanside residential customer's rates for each of their options with SDG&E. It is important to note that this rate comparison uses current 2023 rates and does not reflect rates that will change in 2024 as part of SDG&E and CEA's rate setting processes. This comparison uses the average monthly electricity usage of a typical Oceanside residential customer and is annualized to account for rate differences between summer and winter billing periods. Charges are broken down by the generation cost, which is the cost to produce the electricity, CEA's rates based on renewable content, and SDG&E's fixed charge delivery fees. Also included is the PCIA, or the exit fee, the power charge indifference adjustment, which is a per kilowatt hour charge that is regulated by the state to account for SDG&E's past electricity purchases for customers that have now transitioned over to CEA. Oceanside will be subject to its own exit fee rate or vintage that will be confirmed in the coming months. The premiums attributed to Clean Impact Plus and Green Impact options are based solely on the electricity generation cost per kilowatt hour. All other costs are fixed pass-through charges. As shown in the red box in this figure, staff's recommendation for Clean Impact Plus option results in a 2% savings on monthly generation charges, or an approximate $1 a month savings compared to SDG&E. Again, this is for the typical Oceanside residential customer, single family. This is primarily due to the lower electricity generation costs that are offered by CEA compared to SDG&E. I should also note here that for residential customers with rooftop solar under SDG&E's Net Energy or NEM metering program, CEA's process does work the same to calculate the credits and charges on generation from those systems. Their net surplus generation rate for excess energy generated at the end of each 12-month period for rooftop solar customers is 6 cents per kilowatt hour, which is actually higher than SDG&E historically. For newer net energy metering customers, NEM 3.0, who installed their solar after April of 2023 this year, CEA has adopted the same solar billing plan, but will pay customers 1 cent per kilowatt hour more for energy that is exported back to the grid. This table was also provided by CEA, and it presents a similar rate comparison for a typical small commercial customer in Oceanside based on the average monthly electricity usage. Similar to the residential rate comparison, the lower electricity generation rates through CEA on the top row of the table account for the estimated cost savings using 2023 rates and exit fees. For an average Oceanside small commercial customer, enrollment in the recommended Clean Impact Plus option would save approximately 2% in generation costs, or over $3 per month on the total bill compared to SDG&E. For both of the presented rate comparisons for residential and small commercial, opting up to 100% renewable would result in a monthly premium of 1% higher for the average small commercial customer, while opting down to 50% renewable would present a marginal savings in addition to the Clean Impact Plus option. For both of the comparisons that I've shown here, customers will pay only 1/10 of a cent more for enrolling in the recommended Clean Impact Plus option over the Clean Impact Base option. So with this recommendation, there's no expected fiscal impact directly to the city as it involves electricity user rates. And as I stated earlier, it's important to note that the rate comparisons and exit fees presented are based on the currently available information provided by CEA that are subject to change in 2024. San Diego Gas and Electric typically updates its rates in January following approval of their energy resource recovery account forecast with the California Public Utilities Commission. While SDG&E's year-ahead forecast anticipates overall reductions in unbundled customer rates in 2024, CEA will also update its rates to reflect current market costs of electricity generation. Per CEA's Joint Powers Agreement and in its rate-setting process, it strives to maintain a minimum of 2% monthly customer savings on its baseline energy supply option compared to SDG&E. Given this information, staff recommends the Clean Impact Plus option as a default enrollment, as it balances rate savings to Oceanside customers while progressing the city's renewable energy procurement goals under its Climate Action Plan. While state law requires that Oceanside customers be automatically enrolled, they still retain the choice to leave CEA's service should they choose to do so. Rollout of electrical procurement to Oceanside is expected in April of 2024. Following the enrollment date, customers will have 60 days to opt out and remain with SDG&E with no fees by contacting CEA. After 60 days, customers may re-enroll with SDG&E for a one-time fee of less than $1, but must remain with SDG&E for at least 1 full year. City staff are closely coordinating with CEA's marketing team to ensure that customers are aware of the upcoming transition through a robust outreach and marketing campaign. CEA will provide a minimum of 4 mailing notices to all Oceanside electrical accounts leading up to enrollment. This includes 2 pre-launch notices and 2 post-launch notices, both provided in English and in Spanish. The pre-launch notices will be coupled with a public outreach campaign led by CEA to educate our customers and our residents on the transition. This includes a combination of in-person events, distribution of social media, and web-based content providing guidance and how to answer guidance on answering common questions. CEA also includes a frequently asked questions page on their website and operates their own call center. Following the default enrollment, all Oceanside electrical customers will still receive their monthly bills from San Diego Gas and Electric. However, their bills will include a statement that their electricity generation is now overseen by the Clean Energy Alliance. So in summary, staff recommends that the City Council select the Clean Impact Plus option as the default energy supply for City of Oceanside electrical customers to be enrolled in Clean Energy Alliance in April of 2024. City Council, at its discretion, may also vote to select one of the alternate power products. I'm available for questions, as is Ms. Barbara Broswell from the Clean Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Gamble, and I do need to expand my disclosures because I have been serving as the city's representative on the Clean Energy Alliance board this past year. It's been really, truly education, and my alternate is Councilmember Joyce. So I'm just, probably should have done that. It's been a really, really, as I said, very educational. And we do have Ms. Barbara Boswell here. Would you approach, please? She is the outgoing CEO. Yeah, see that, those smiles from people who are retiring. It's like, and she was really helped launch CEA. First started with 3 cities, then now including 7, cleaned the entire corridor 478. And recently, another disclosure that I have to do at this point is that Poseidon initially, which is a large user, initially did not want to opt in, but what are they doing now?
So we have been working with the desalination plant actually over the last 2 years since Clean Energy Alliance launched. They did initially opt out. And it was a mutual agreement because of the size of their load and concerns on both sides. But we've been working together to develop a program to be able to offer them service that mitigates the risk to Clean Energy Alliance and its customers related to the opt-out provision. As was mentioned by Mr. Gamble, customers do have the rights to opt out should they choose to, and they can elect to do that at any time. And with such a large customer, we don't want to have our customers left with costs related to having served that load. So we've reached an agreement for a new program that is open to any large customer of that size. Our board did approve that agreement at our board meeting at the end of October, and it goes tomorrow morning to the San Diego County Water Authority. The Water Authority does have the right to select electric provider through their water purchase agreement with the Poseidon. So we're very excited because it is a large customer and will really help us to achieve reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by serving this large load with our cleaner energy. So
Yes,
thank you. And thank you for your service, Mayor, and also to
It's been
alternate
very
Joyce.
educational, let me tell you, hasn't it? Yeah. And you're also, are there still negotiations or discussions, I should say, with Orange County City, San Clemente?
We have had conversations in the past and meetings with them. There are not currently any ongoing. City of San Clemente City Council voted to table the discussion, and it has not at this point been reintroduced.
And why don't you go ahead and say who is now taking over the position and how you will remain as basically, I hate that word, consultant. It's like that, it's come up a couple of times, right?
Thank you. It has been my distinct pleasure to serve the board and help get Clean Energy Alliance up and going. I was initially hired as an interim chief executive officer that has lasted now for several years. And
with a change in title, though, right?
Yeah, we did change the title, yes. The board did follow an extensive recruitment process and did select Greg Wade, who's the current city manager of the city of Solana Beach, as the new chief executive officer as a result of that process. And he is scheduled to begin his tenure on February 1st. I will stay on to help with the transition and happy to serve the board in any way I can, as long as the board sees value in that.
Thank you, and both of you really have been there from the start.
Thank you. Yes, we have. Solana Beach established Solana Energy Alliance, which was the first community choice energy program in San Diego Gas and Electric Territory. And I had previously been the finance director with the city of Lancaster, and we started a community choice energy program there in 2015. And subsequent to my retirement, when Solana Beach was looking into it, they reached out and I began working with them in helping to establish Solana Energy Alliance. So we have a record of working together and getting a new community choice energy program up and running. And I never imagined that in 2017 I would still be standing before city council such as yourself in North County and supporting the advancement and growth and expansion of community choice. And it's very exciting. We have some really exciting programs coming that the board has been considering and approving, and lots to look forward to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I did have that added information, so I wanted to make sure that the public was aware of that. Because this is really a solid agency. So this is a public hearing. This is a time for the public to speak on this item. And you have up to 3 minutes to speak. Do we have, Mr. Knott, any other speakers who have asked?
We have 3 registered speakers. Our
Okay,
first speaker is
fantastic.
Jimmy Knott.
Mr. Knott.
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane. I have a few questions. Number one, since I live in the mobile home park, majority of our mobile home parks are mastered metered. Therefore, I am sub-metered. And that means a question of, will I have a choice as a sub-metered individual, or does that mean my park owner has my choice? That's number one. Number two, is there going to be any possibility for low income or fixed income and maybe a sliding scale? Or is it all set by other potential commissions like the PUC? Number three, is the common user going to get 2 bills? One from SDG&E for the transport of the energy, one from CEA for the energy, and does this mean who is in charge of what potential duplication of additional charges that may be involved for carrying capacities? that we have heard through MWD and San Diego County Water Authority through numerous lawsuits. 4, carbon offset credits. How are those going to be handled? Because there's something that's really advantageous to lower income individuals. 5, off-hours supply. How is that going to be affected? Because during the day with solar, great, we're going to have nice energy and everything. What about off hours? Where is that energy supply going to be coming from? From what sources? And it's question of, is carbon-free or not? What's going to be done? And what other charges potentially are involved in this that we should be aware of that is going to be tacked on? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Joe Hood.
Good evening again. I'm Joe Hood with North County Climate Change Alliance. Thank you for joining CEA. It's a very fine decision. However, it's hard to find words to describe the danger that we're in. We have exceeded the CO2 budget to stay within 1.5 degrees warming. That's now baked in. If all planned U.S. fracked gas export terminals are built, we will emit an additional 3.5 gigatons of CO2 each year, more than all of Europe. Game over for 2 degrees centigrade. Much catastrophe will follow. And Oceanside won't commit to 100% renewable energy with CEA at a 1% premium? Wow. Why won't you stand up for our citizens and our planet? Do you really think it wise to save a few dollars? The U.S. has had on average a $10 billion climate loss every 20 days since 2018. Please choose 100% renewable energy for the city. The incremental cost is truly negligible. I strongly urge Oceanside also to set 100% defaults for businesses, a small ask, for residences. If impractical, conduct a strong marketing campaign to urge choosing 100% renewable. We must fight disinformation noise. Consider paying the difference from city funds for any who are financially stressed. Build a low-income discount of some sort into the plan. Solar is by far the least expensive source of energy generation today, yet choosing 100% renewable energy costs more than fossil? Someplace regulations have gone haywire. Somehow we don't have enough renewable energy. Please install microgrids on every city-owned rooftop and parking lot and deploy a citywide virtual power plant. Help CEA reduce costs and reduce emissions. The climate crisis is code red for humanity. Please act boldly and urgently. Let's not drop the ball. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Sanchez and City Council. My name is John Bodorf with cleanearthforkids.org. We ask you to select Green Impact 100% renewable energy as the default power supply option and for all city-owned facilities and operations. We are in a climate emergency, and we must do all we can to stop the use of fossil fuels as quickly as possible to protect human health and the environment. 100% renewables is important not just to protect our climate, but also to protect our air. We have bad air in San Diego. The Eddie Jones warehouse will dump massive amounts of toxic pollution onto the surrounding neighborhoods and Surf Park and should not be allowed. CleanEarthForKids.org asks this council to take action to protect Oceanside, to put people before profits. We ask you to stop leasing land to West Coast tomatoes who use a massive amount of pesticides banned in other countries right next to homes in the San Luis Rey River. All of this rain tonight washes those poisons into our waterways, harming our health and the environment. 99% of synthetic pesticides are made from fossil fuels, so this is also a climate issue. Please create programs to assist all Oceanside farms to transition to organic farming methods. We also ask you to pass an ordinance to stop the installation of all synthetic turf in Oceanside, like the city of Millbrae. Synthetic turf is made of plastic, which emits methane, a greenhouse gas 80 times more powerful than carbon dioxide. The rate of methane released increases with heat, and synthetic turf fields are 40 to 70% hotter than surrounding air temperatures, so they not only endanger our climate, but can also burn hands and feet and melt shoes, along with increasing the chance of dehydration, heat stroke, and other heat-related illnesses. The entire plastic life cycle is incredibly toxic. Chemicals commonly found in plastic can cause premature birth, low birth weight, decreased fertility, asthma, childhood leukemia, and the list goes on and on. Synthetic turf has also been found to contain many toxic and cancer-causing chemicals like PFAS. PFAS have been found in every synthetic turf field tested. PFAS are incredibly toxic and cause cancer. PFAS is volatile with high temperatures and will drift far from their source, polluting soil and water. Cleaning PFAS from drinking water is a massive cost. We ask Oceanside to follow organic land management practices for real grass playing fields. There is a free webinar on managing parks and playing fields. The link to it on November 29th is on our website from Beyond Pesticides. We also suggest adding a climate core program to the CAT for Miracosta and high school students. We have to stop the use of fossil fuels. That means 100% clean renewable energy and stopping the use of synthetic pesticides and synthetic turf. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Mr. Dominguez?
Good evening. My name is Daniel Dominguez. First off, I'd like to say that I support community aggregators, which is CA is a community aggregator, because it goes on the principle of being able to get better discounts on electrical rates, if you have a large block of users. I call it the Costco principle, the Costco Walmart principle. However, there are, dangers or pitfalls with programs because you're still connected to the utility. The utility is still providing the energy, and they're doing the billing, which brings me to why I came up here is last year in June, the Assembly passed a bill called AB 205, and Governor Newsom signed it into law, and AB 205 directed the Public Utilities Commission to implement a change to rates. They are now going to go, the plan is to go to an income graduated fixed rate. In other words, the utility or somebody will identify what each household's income is, and then they will base a charge on the income. SDG&E is proposing 120 at the top end, is proposing $128 per month non-bypassable charge, which I'm assuming the CEA will somehow get passed, or the CEA will need to include this charge because it's part of the investor-owned utilities rate for using the grid, basically. Additionally, this fixed charge will also be used to lower the current SDG&E rate from 47 cents, I think, per kilowatt hour to 27 cents. So, and they plan to also eliminate the time of use charges, so it's just going to be a flat rate. This is called the Electrification Incentive Adjustment, which is to encourage users to use more electricity. So why I'm speaking is that the CEA should be aware that these charges are coming down, or these changes are coming down the pike. The legislature has already passed a law. The PUC is kind of boxed in as to what they got to charge. So it is not something that is up in the air. They're starting the hearings, and so there's a lot of controversy. One of them being is who is going to determine what household income? And it's very controversial because It considers matters of privacy, and whether the CEA will do that or not, it's something that really needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other requests to speak, or anyone else wishing to speak, address the council on this item? Please rise, approach the podium, and state your name, and you can speak for up to 3 minutes. Seeing no one else rising, I'm going to go ahead and close this part of the public hearing and go to staff to respond to any to the questions that were raised.
Thank you. We will have Justin Gamble and Ms. Boswell available for those questions.
Thank you. Yeah, I would like to call Ms. Barbara Boswell up to answer questions specifically for Mr. Knott, since he had quite a few of them related to metering, low income fixed rates, as well as some of the energy generation sources.
Your job is not done yet, Ms. Boswell.
Thank you. Yes, with regard to the question on mobile home parks in master metered accounts, it is the customers whose ever name is on the bill. So typically it's the park owner or the park management company who makes the decision of whether or not to stay in Clean Energy Alliance or to opt one of the other power supply products or to opt out. Irrespective of that, whatever savings is realized as a result of participating in Clean Energy Alliance, that is required to be passed on to the mobile home, individual mobile home sub-meters. With regards to possibility for low income, any customer who currently is on low income qualified rates such as CARE, FARA, or medical baseline maintain those discounts. Nothing changes with regards to those discounts. Customers don't have to reapply. They continue to receive them. We do have an exciting program that is has just been approved by our board, which would provide the ability for all customers to access solar and battery storage without completing a credit application, because the customer isn't buying the system. It's a system that Clean Energy Alliance is buying the energy and reselling it through the customer's bill, which opens up the potential for customers who may not have otherwise qualified for solar or battery storage to be able to have access to these types of systems and have the benefits that batteries offer in terms of being able to minimize bills by utilizing those batteries. With regards to the question of whether or not there will be 2 bills, Clean Energy Alliance charges do appear on the SDG&E bill, so customers continue to receive only 1 bill. With regards to carbon offset credits, I'm not, with regards to renewable energy, there is a renewable energy credits that sometimes people say, you know, we shouldn't be buying credits and not buying the renewable energy. Clean Energy Alliance does not buy renewable energy credits. We do buy the underlying energy supply that's related to that renewable energy that's being created and the credit there. With regards to off-hours supply and how will this be affected and where does the energy come from, the speaker is correct. When the sun isn't shining, solar energy isn't being generated. And to the extent that we don't have batteries, and we do have battery systems in our portfolio and we're continuing to buy more, that energy is pulled off the grid. However, we do procure sufficient energy in our portfolio to equal a minimum of 50% of our energy needs for our clean impact and 75% carbon free. And to the extent that we get more customers with solar and battery, of course, that also helps because customers can use the batteries in the evening times when electricity is expensive and the solar energy is going down. With regards to what other charges are involved, the bill comparison that was shown reflects the charges that there are. So Clean Energy Alliance charges for the electrons, the electricity, the generation charge. SDG&E does have the exit fee. However, that fee is currently being paid by all customers. It's embedded in their rates today. On the bill comparison, we did break it out because that's how SDG&E likes our bill comparisons to be shown, reflected. So there is nothing new or any additional charges that would be customers would be paying as a result of being customers of Clean Energy Alliance. With regards to AB 205 income graduated fixed rates, this is a an issue that is being considered. It is a law, and the PUC is looking at how to implement this. It is a proceeding that we are actively participating in. One of the challenges is exactly what the speaker talked about, which is who determines what the income is and what rate you fall into. The utilities, the investor-owned utilities, have proposed that instead of there being several tiers, there be just 2 tiers. Those customers that are care customers, which are already pre-screened and pre-qualified as being low income, and non-care. This is being considered at the PUC level. It's anticipated that this could go into effect as early as July of 2024. It only impacts the delivery side of the bill, not the side of the bill that we have. So we would not be implementing income graduated fixed charges, but our customers are impacted equally as the non-community choice energy customers. And I'm happy to answer any other questions that the council may have.
Thank you very much, Ms. Boswell. All right, so to the council. I see no lights. Councilmember Joyce.
Just a couple of things. Our climate action plan says that our target is 75% renewable by 2030. So if this is increasing every year from where we start at 50%, when do we get to the 75% along those increases? Is it predetermined, or is there some other formula that does the yearly increase?
Yes, so Ms. Boswell can correct me if I'm wrong, but the current plan for the 2 base options, Clean Impact and Clean Impact Plus, is that they would progress annually to 100% renewable by 2035. Our climate action plan has a emissions reduction measure in it that stated that 75% of the energy used locally here in Oceanside by our customers and our facilities should be at least come from 75% renewable sources by 2030. So while the rate of increase to 100% renewable is outpacing the climate action plan, choosing the middle ground with that very small premium will help us get there further. Additionally, the CEA Board of Directors can take action collectively to direct CEA to procure a greater share of renewable energy sooner than 2035. Is that correct?
Okay, so based on where we would start at 50%, and if we're getting there in 10 years, we would basically hit it right on 2030 if it went up the same increment every year. Is that about right?
Ms. Boswell, you want to speak to the increment as to how you guys purchase renewables?
Just trying to make sure we hit our goals.
We do anticipate being able to provide Oceanside, help you meet that goal of 75% by 2030, based on our incremental increases.
Okay, thank you. The facilities opt-up that was mentioned is, so city facilities would automatically be enrolled in the standard plan if we pick the middle option?
I think that's a yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. Currently, staff's recommendation does not include a different default enrollment rate for city facilities. It would be the Clean Impact Plus rate.
Okay. So for me, I think it would be important for us to, as a city, take the lead and opt up our facilities, recognizing the existential threat that climate change poses to our future, our near future, and our children's future. So I would like to see our council take that action and do everything we can to encourage other large users to opt up as well. I think it's hard to ask users to opt up if we're not willing to do it ourselves. So.
Okay, you said opt up. Yeah. I thought you said opt out. It's like,
yes,
okay,
opt
that's
up
not
to
making
100%
sense.
renewable. I apologize if I wasn't that clear.
Up. Okay. All right, Deputy Mayor Keim.
Quick question, whether for Mr. Gamble or Ms. Boswell. Just for those accounts that are choosing to do 100% renewable, are they actually using 100% renewable? Are they getting 100% renewable electrons, let's say at night?
So what how the balancing works is that we procure an equivalent amount of their usage in 100% renewable that comes onto the grid. But it's not an hour by hour, minute by minute green energy.
Why is that? Because there is no renewable energy at night? So even.
It's the challenge, yeah.
So just, I'm making a point. So even those that are on 100% renewable, are they actually using 100% renewable, or is it just an accounting method that they get credit for doing that?
So everybody's still pulling their energy off the grid, and it's still the same mix. And so what we are doing is contributing to increasing the overall green content of the energy on the grid, but it's not, we don't have direct lines to people's homes where one home is getting one type of energy and another home is getting another type of energy.
Would it be fair to say that someone who's using their electricity after dark, when the wind's not blowing, that they're not using renewable sources?
Well, there'd be a portion of that that's coming from, could be from batteries, where it has been stored from solar energy. So it could be the origination was a solar or a renewable source.
But is that how much are we actually getting from batteries? I want to be clear. I think there's a misconception that if you pick 100% renewable, our city is using 100% renewable, and that's not the case. It's just we pay for 100% renewable, and that's an accounting method.
Well, we're procuring, and we're actually procuring that. So we're however much energy that all the city accounts are using, we're then buying from renewable sources. Now, whether or not they come onto the grid at the exact same time the city's consuming it, there may not be a match because it's not an hour-by-hour match, but we do procure 100% renewable energy equivalent to the city's use.
I understand that, but at night when there's not renewable energy in the different times, and if we're using electricity, it would come from a different source unless there's enough battery storage.
Correct.
There's not enough battery storage to cover all of that.
Not yet.
Not yet, that's my point. No one's under.
Okay, Councilman. Okay, so there's a motion to adopt the resolution. Councilmember Weiss?
Yeah, I have a question for Ms. Boswell, just real quick. Would it be fair to say that California's, as a state, uses about 66% non-renewable and 33% renewable in 2021?
In 2021, it was probably a bit higher for renewable, but that's pretty close.
Okay.
I think the state's minimum was 35% in 2021 potentially, but it's very close to that, yes.
Let's show 33.6% and 66.4.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you. I'll second the motion.
All right, no other lights? All right, there's a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you very much. Thank you, staff. Thank you, Ms. Boswell, for your years of service. And I know you're not really going away because this is certainly something that you are 1,000% committed to. And certainly it's the best thing for our climate action plan. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure working with you. All right, so that is we need general council member comments. You first. Okay.
I just attend a really.
So Councilmember Joyce,
Yes.
let me just say, I was wondering who was going to put
So
their
much
one on first.
energy. The Parks and Rec Commission last night had a ton of energy because there's a ton of energy behind making sure that our facility use is appropriately determined. And so it was lively, and there's a lot of really good conversation around our capital improvements projects that are coming forward next year. So I just wanted to give them a shout out for all the work that they did. We were here till late, so they did a lot of
Weren't
great
there
work.
about 100 speakers?
It was.
That's what I heard.
Most impressive was
Better
there
there
were a
than
ton
here.
of young speakers, a ton of high school students that came in to speak. So it's
Fantastic.
awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, Councilmember Robinson. Okay. Well, great news. Great news. Pop Warner has great news. Pop Warner has actually won the title, and let me tell you, it's actually 4 teams. It's 9U, 10U, 11U and 13U have won the state championships. And they are now, this weekend, this very weekend, are going to Arizona to battle and win, right, the regionals. And they're going to Arizona. They're going to be going up against Arizona and also Hawaii. And we're talking 4 teams. They have not won nationals since 2005. So in anticipation of possibly all 4 teams going, or, more than one team going, this will be December 2nd in Florida, where they would be heading to, December 2nd. So I have been advised that I will be hearing about whether or not, which teams won this weekend, that they're playing this weekend in Arizona. And then they're going to ask for help in getting them all to nationals, to Orlando, Florida, to win again the titles, to have Oceanside on the map. So this is really, really exciting news. Our kids are really doing it, and our community is really, really big supporters. We've already mentioned the turkey trot. So please go out there and enjoy that, and then best wishes for a really happy family, friends get together over Thanksgiving. We are going to be adjourned now until December 6th. Okay, we have a little bit of a break. So December 6th at 3:30. Meeting adjourned. Happy holidays.